Welcome to the wonderful world of process modeling and context diagrams. A context diagram is a nice, simple, straightforward diagram that enables you to capture a high-level view of a business system. It shows the system boundary, the key flows in and out of that system, and the external entities, the things that interact with the system, people, organizations, maybe other systems. The great thing about a context diagram is the fact that it enables you to understand a business system and business requirements at a high level before you dive into all the detail. They are relatively quick and easy to do, relatively easy for stakeholders to understand and therefore validate, and it will help you to establish the scope of a project, of a system under investigation early, which is a good time to do it. The best way for you to understand how this works, how to construct a context diagram, is to work through a practical example. So this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at a case study based on a bookshop. You can start a context diagram very simply with a box to represent the system that you are looking at. In this case, a bookshop. And the line around the box represents the system boundary. Imagine that we've done some investigation, some fact-finding, and spoken to people who work in the bookshop. And they have given us a little more information about what is going on. They deal with purchases by customers off the shelf. They take orders from customers for items that are not currently in stock but can be got from elsewhere. They deal with general inquiries from customers. They process payments and pass them to the bank. And they order new stock from book suppliers. In practice, it does not matter where you start with a context diagram. In this case, let's start with purchases. The customer is represented as an external entity in an ellipse, and the purchase is represented as a data flow, a double-headed arrow with a simple text label to indicate the nature of that flow. You may notice that the data flow here, book purchase, is represented by a double-headed arrow. It's pointy at both ends. This represents the fact that this is a two-way interaction. The customer chooses their book, takes it to the counter, and then pays for it. The bookseller then hands it over, and the customer can take it home to enjoy reading it for education or entertainment. Returning to what the stakeholders, the bookshop staff, told us, if a customer wants an item that is not currently available on the shelves, we can take an order, obtain that item, that book, from a book supplier, and the customer can return later on and purchase the item. This is represented on the context diagram as another data flow labelled book order. Another thing that the bookshop staff may do is deal with general inquiries by customers. For example, as part of a book purchase, they may ask, what is the best book on a particular subject? They might ask when a new book by their favourite author will be published and available. This could be shown as a separate data flow, but here I've chosen not to do so. I've assumed that this could be included in either or both of the existing data flows. We could show it as a separate arrow, but this will complicate the diagram a little. The point I'm illustrating is that at the top level, on a context diagram, you do not necessarily have to show every single data flow. If you need to add this detail, it can be done later on. The bookshop staff process payments and send them to the bank. The processing of payments is inside the bookshop within the box and is not shown here, but we can show the payment going to the bank as a data flow outwards to another external entity, bank. From time to time, the bookshop purchases new stock from book suppliers. This is shown on the context diagram with a new external entity, book supplier, and a data flow labelled order. You should now understand, I hope, what a context diagram is. That it shows the system boundary, the key flows in and out of a system, and the external entities that interact with it. You should also understand why we draw context diagrams, to capture a high-level view, a high-level understanding of a business system and key business requirements. Also, very importantly, how to draw a context diagram on a practical level. We've worked through an example, and hopefully you can now apply those skills on real projects. What we are going to look at next is another case study, another example of a context diagram. And you are going to get a chance to put your new skills into practice by working through a practical exercise.